Welcome to Good for Bitcoin, a weekly show recorded live every Friday, where we recap the top events of the week and talk about everything that is good for Bitcoin. If it's built on Bitcoin, then it's good for Bitcoin. Let's get started.
Content shared on this podcast is for informational and entertainment purposes only. It does not constitute financial, investment, or legal advice. The views and opinions expressed are those of the host and guests and do not reflect the official policy or position of any other agency, organization, or company. We encourage you to conduct your own research and consult with a qualified professional before making any financial decisions.
Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to Good for Bitcoin. My name is Brandon, social media manager at Trust Machines, joined by our community lead, Kate. Happy Friday, Kate.
Happy Friday, Brandon, and everybody tuning in. How's your week been so far?
It's been good. I feel like another kind of slow-ish week. Bitcoin Asia is going on, so I feel like a lot of people are, we're not there, but a lot of people are in Asia in conference week, I guess, or doing different things. And it's just been kind of a slow week, I feel like, overall.
Yeah, I feel like when the news is a little bit slow, people tend to lean towards the price, talking about the price. So there's been some good little dips, and I've heard some, stories and people talking about it's just whales. Just like they've reached their checkout point, they've accumulated too much Bitcoin, that this is their exit point. So that's a lot of the little things that I've been seeing around.
Yeah, I think it's still over 100,000 per coin, for anybody that's feeling that the situation is dire, Bitcoin's still in a pretty good spot.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, hey, if whales, have run out of coins to sell, that's certainly a good thing too.
The market keeps eating them up, that's for sure.
Yeah. Well, let's just jump right into public company news then, including Strategy, who bought 3,081 Bitcoin this past week. They now hold 632,457 BTC, and they now have officially over 3% of the total Bitcoin supply.
Oh, wow. They crossed that threshold.
They crossed it.
Crazy. Then we have Metaplanet. They're planning to raise another $881 million to buy more Bitcoin. Love to see.
Yeah. DDC Enterprise bought 200 Bitcoin. We've been talking about them a lot over the past few weeks. They now hold 888 BTC, which is a lucky number, I think.
Oh, that is a lucky number. Yeah, I like that. And then we have Kindly MD. They are announcing $5 billion at the market equity offering program, and they're going to use that proceeds to buy Bitcoin.
Yeah, so that's Nakamoto,
yep.
But official company name, Kindly MD. So $5 billion Bitcoin buy incoming? Maybe?
We'll see. I put this in here. I saw this little segment somewhere else, and I thought it was be cool to touch on. So it's basically public companies that have put Bitcoin on their balance sheet and where they are now, whether it actually worked out. Because we talk so much about copying Strategy's playbook, because obviously they have crushed it. But then there's been some fumbles. So I thought I would just go over these quickly. We have GameStop. They have just under 5,000 Bitcoin. And when they announced that they were going to be buying it, obviously their stock jumped, but they are now down 27% year to date. Then we have this Embry Digital. They're a former EV maker, Vulcan. They have around 4,000 Bitcoin. Again, a brief spike, but they're now down 80% in 2025. Then we have Seacans, a French semiconductor firm. Their stock rallied. It's kind of the similar pattern over and over again. But they are collapsing now below $1, despite their plans to buy 100,000 Bitcoin by 2030. Then we have a Venati Coffee. They hold around 100 Bitcoin. Their shares tripled after their Bitcoin announcement. Again, fell down 70%. Ming Xing Group, they're a Hong Kong builder. Their stock was up around $8.50 and then crumbled to $1.85, even though they're announcing more plans to buy Bitcoin. And then lastly, we have this K-Wave Media. They're a Korean entertainment firm. They raised $1 billion for Bitcoin, which is pretty crazy, but apparently their shares keep sliding. So it's this continuous pattern over and over, a little pump right after announcing, and then it kind of goes downhill. And I'm wondering if this is really companies that are kind of throwing this Bitcoin on the balance sheet as a Hail Mary to kind of save their companies. Maybe that's what's happening here, but I thought it'd be cool to highlight this.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. I also wanted to share this Blockworks dashboard. It's not like super comprehensive with all of the Bitcoin treasury companies that we often talk about, but it does list the MNAV for some of these companies, which is basically kind of how they're performing relative to Bitcoin's price. Like, why would you buy, X, Y, and Z treasury company when you could just buy Bitcoin, and owning the actual Bitcoin asset would potentially outperform, the treasury company. And we have like MicroStrategy here, who has a 1.55 MNAV. So they are outperforming Bitcoin. So, if you've bought MicroStrategy, good for you. Semler is like just, at kind of that MNAV 1.02 on BTC. But yeah, I imagine a lot more of these other companies, are lower than 1, which means that they're not, meeting the same performance as Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Which certainly makes it so that you wouldn't want to own them versus just owning Bitcoin directly. So, super interesting to, to see. We've talked about it before, like in a lot of cases, a lot of these companies are buying Bitcoin as like a marketing strategy, but not as anything beyond that, right? They don't really have like that super deep conviction from what it feels like, and they're just not doing a lot with it. And I don't know, it's very different than something like what Strategy is doing. Yeah. So yeah, super interesting.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm sure some like this also is just the way that Bitcoin goes. I'm sure some of them, are probably preparing for this and knowing like there's going to be ups and downs, but it's definitely not the Hail Mary play that it's kind of treated as sometimes. But yeah, that's a cool resource. I didn't know that they had put that together and you could like compare the MNAVs. I like this.
Yeah, I wish it had like more of them on here. I don't know if Bitcoin Treasuries, which is another resource that we have referenced in the past, can list MNAVs maybe in the future. That'd be interesting. I'm really surprised about GameStop though, in particular.
Yeah.
I feel like they're such a household name compared to any of these other companies, and it just, it feels like GameStop would be doing better, but they're very much in that, that meme coin realm, right? Where they just, whatever kind of the meme is, their stock can go up and down. And like, if people aren't really talking about them, their stock performance isn't going to do very well.
Yeah. Seems to be the case.
Yeah. Cool. Well, moving on to some news for this week. This, I feel like, was a big one. A lot of people were talking about it, at least. U.S. Department of Commerce is working with the Pith network to verify and distribute economic data on-chain. So Pith, which is like an on-chain oracle, has been selected by the Department of Commerce and the Secretary of Commerce, which is Howard Lutnick, to bring economic data such as GDP data on-chain. Pith says that they will initially offer quarterly releases of US GDP data going back over the last 5 years. And they anticipate that expanding this initiative to support a broader range of economic data sets in the future. And Pith is on Stacks. Granite is the lead maintainer of the Pith Oracle currently on Stacks. And we heard this morning that Stacks will have an announcement to make regarding this soon. You heard it here first. So that's super cool that, that Stacks is kind of integrated with this a little bit. I mean, congrats to the Pith team, I guess, for kind of securing this integration with the Department of Commerce. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, this is cool. It also seemed like the Chainlink and the Pith stock price jumped with this, but I feel like this is less about, actually like getting GDP data out there. It's more about using Bitcoin as like a timestamp settlement layer, sort of in an experimentation phase, which is cool to see.
100%. Yeah. It's like the value is not just the fact that you can like go and reference like 5 years of GDP data on chain. The value is that they're using blockchain to, to publish their data, and hopefully we'll see more of that in the future. That's a good point.
Very cool.
Yeah. Next, we have the acting chairman, FAM, announces FBOT advisory to provide regulatory clarity for non-US exchanges. I think you expanded on this a little bit. I saw a lot of people also speculating about this, on what this was going to mean for like offshore US exchanges and stuff like that. But maybe I'll throw this one to you.
Yeah, sure.
Explain this one a little more.
Yeah. So basically, Americans now will have a legal path to trade on international crypto exchanges. The acting chair, Caroline Pham, issued this guidance under the Foreign Board of Trade Framework. And it just means that, exchanges outside of the U.S. can register with the CFTC and directly serve American customers. So this is obviously not the case before. Americans were I'm sure you can attest to this, stuck with US only platforms using VPNs. Maybe you had some secret offshore accounts you're not sharing.
Well, I remember, I joined, crypto kind of back when things were very much still wild, wild west. And, you could go to Binance and you could create an account and you could trade on Binance. And then like a year or two into, me discovering crypto and playing around with it, like Binance like completely cut off, US users, and they launched Binance US, which was like, still linked to Binance in some ways, but it didn't support all the same tokens, and it wasn't the same platform because it couldn't be, and it was like not as good of a product objectively than like Binance itself. Sorry, Rena. So yeah, I think, there's been kind of some ebbs and flows there, but it's pretty cool that, potentially there's a path to, open up some of these access to some of these exchanges again.
Yeah, and obviously it just gives people like much more access to larger liquidity, which is nice. So it seems like, there'll be conditions with this. Like you'll still have to register, follow rules against abusive trading, whatever that means, and be overseen by a credible foreign regulator that can share info with the CFTC. I'm not sure what the timeline on this is. I don't know if you have seen that, but it'll obviously bring a lot of competition to Coinbase, Kraken, Gemini, the big guys in the US, and we'll see how that shakes out. But obviously it's a very pro market stance, and I don't know, I think competition is always a good thing.
Yeah, competition is definitely a good thing. I mean, at the end of the day, like for all these exchanges, what you want is the most liquidity to be able to trade on. And, Coinbase certainly has a ton of liquidity, but outside of Coinbase in the US, you still have a few others that like for the regular person is definitely more than enough liquidity, right? Like Kraken and Gemini and other places like that. But for huge like institutions, Coinbase is kind of one of the only players in the US on that really large scale like that for trading. So if, something could open up for something like a Binance, to be available, certainly, like you said, it goes back to more competition, definitely better for everybody.
Yeah. Well, it definitely goes along with like the Bitcoin is global money kind of sentiment. So we'll see how that shakes out.
Totally. Last big one is USDT is coming to RGB protocol. We've covered RGB protocol pretty extensively on the Trust Machines account. We've done like multiple Twitter spaces with folks from the RGB team. Good people over there. Shout out to Gideon and Hunter Beast and Anastasia and some other folks from Deba and Bitmask. We've even had like some of the actual creators of RGB on Twitter Spaces in the past. Maxim Orlovsky was on, and pretty cool stuff. I think it's very cool that Tether is coming to RGB. It's a huge win for RGB just because they are still so kind of new and not many people know about them, especially compared to something like Lightning. So big win for them. They didn't share a specific timeline, but yeah, good time to, read up on RGB protocol. How I sort of think about it is it's kind of like it's a Bitcoin layer. It's kind of like Lightning if Lightning used like zero knowledge proofs and also supported smart contracts. It's pretty like technically deep, I guess. Like there's a lot with RGB, and I feel like at this point that's like where its like downfall has been so far in not getting a lot of adoption, because it has been like, it's very technical in terms of like how it works and what it can do. So that's been, I think, the challenge that they've had is like trying to, just make it more user friendly and easier to use. And I know that they have had like more wallets integrated and stuff like that. So they're definitely getting there. And certainly to have something like USDT on their platform is going to help a lot with that.
Yeah, I need to go down this rabbit hole. This sounds very interesting, because basically the way it's framed is like USDT is basically going to be tradable alongside like your Bitcoin, like on the same, like in the same wallet. So it's pretty cool. I need to definitely, I was reading through this thread, but You're right, it is very technical.
It is. Yeah. This, we posted this thread, like, it's over 2 years old at this point. This was like one of our first like kind of viral threads that like really went off. It has over 100,000 views, which is pretty cool.
No way. Very cool.
But yeah, we tried to go a little bit more in detail on like what makes it unique, and talking about this like concept of client side verification and single use seals and all these very technical things, and trying to make it as like, user friendly as possible. But it certainly is deep. I remember, trying to do the research for this thread, and it took a while of white paper reading to try to figure it out and try to condense it into like a Twitter thread that the average person could maybe hopefully understand.
Well, it's cool. It's like seems like one of the most credible attempts really to bring like stablecoins back to Bitcoin. There's just been so much explosion on ETH and Solana, but I'm excited. I need to dive into this more because this looks quite interesting.
Yeah, we need more stablecoins on Bitcoin. That's what we need.
Yeah.
Everybody. Well, I think that wraps it up for most of the news for this week. We did want to highlight, though, that next Tuesday, both of us will actually be speaking at the STX Bitcoin DeFi webinar that Stacks is putting on. Do you want to talk a little bit about what you're going to be discussing?
Yeah, sure. Mine is going to be what I think is the coolest one. It's just intro to stacking. So basically, you're stacking your stacks, you're earning Bitcoin while doing so. And I'm going to show you how to do that in Lether and Xverse and just kind of go over some of the basic fundamentals of doing so. So I think I'm at the first session on Tuesday.
Ooh, no pressure.
Yeah, I'm going to kick us off strong.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. I'm going to be on representing Granite, dropping some pretty big alpha actually from Granite. So really looking forward to that. It's going to be streaming on the Stacks Twitter account and on their YouTube. You can go on here on Luma and register if you want to, but if you don't, just tune in Tuesday, September 2nd. My time it's at 7 a.m., but Eastern time, 10 a.m. Be bright and early for me presenting at 10 a.m. or 7 a.m. But it's going to be fun. And other people, it's not just us two. There's going to be more Stacks folks on there as well talking about it. Yeah. And should be a good time. Yeah,
I'm excited for that one. And then you have another show that you're going to be joining as well. Tell us about that one.
I'm going to be on Eric's show. Eric does DevRel at Hero. And I'm going to be on his Dev and Tell show on Wednesday to talk about my Ordinals website that I inscribed, which for those that don't know, if you go to brandonmarshall.net, it's going to redirect you to an Ordinals inscription. So my website is entirely inscribed on Bitcoin. So I don't have to pay any hosting fees, and I can update it whenever I want still with the way that it was designed. So I never thought that I would be interviewed as a developer.
Brandon's a dev
but
now.
I guess that's happening. It'll be pretty cool. So look forward to that as well. I think it's a live stream also that'll be happening on Wednesday. So lots of live streams happening next week. And then we'll be back on Friday next week as well. So
awesome.
It's going to be a busy media week for us.
Yeah. And that'll be a fun week for sure. Yeah.
Short week as well. It's Labor Day. So hope everybody has a great 3-day weekend. Do you have any plans?
No plans. What about you?
That's good. That's totally fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to be hanging around the house and just enjoying some time off. So
that's good.
That's it.
Well deserved.
Cool. Well, thanks everybody for tuning in. We will see y'all next week. And have a great 3-day weekend.
See you guys.
Thank you for listening. We record Good for Bitcoin live every Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time on X. Please follow us at Trust Machines Co. if you would like to listen and engage with us live. Visit us at trustmachines.co for all the latest Bitcoin news. We'll see you next week.